Hey guys, what's happening? Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I say that every week though. Uh what's up? What's going on out there? I'm just working on a little video for the Las Lunas pedal from Vemram. I'll show it to you here on my desk. So I did a little track. It's not going to be a real long video, but it'll give you a good idea what it sounds like. It's a really, really, really good sounding distortion pedal. So the kind of the thing with pedals like this these days that I've come to realize is that um over the last 15 years maybe, we've seen this shift, especially with a lot of younger players, towards using pedal boards and maybe a clean amp. I mean, that's the one group, and then there's the other group that has just gone to using quad cortex or axe effects, right? And then there's still a portion of guitar players that use channel switching amps like my PT100 or PT15 or Friedman amplifiers or Mesa amplifiers or things like that, and getting the distortion out of the amplifier. But there is a significant group that are, and I'm talking about like everything from amateurs, but also through to professional players that are using distortion pedals as their main source of distortion, which that wasn't really a thing, with some exceptions, but that wasn't really a thing back when I started playing. And it was all about, like, you had to get a Marshall or whatever the amp was in the day. And basically in Canada where I grew up, we had Laney, we had Marshall. Mesa showed up sometime in the 80s, and at local dealers, and that was about as boutique as you could get, right? And then you had a bunch of other brands. I mean, there was Trainer and like Canadian brands and stuff, but that was kind of it for, Fender. Um, so if you were playing rock and you were doing it, on a gigging level, it was like you had to kind of have a Laney or a Marshall or a Mesa. It was like everybody that's what they did. Um, that was what you saw people use. The idea of using a distortion pedal into a clean amp was not. I don't remember anybody doing that. I'm talking about like club gigging, professional band sort of. But there also wasn't pedals that would rival amp distortion, through a combo. That wasn't a thing, really. Do you remember this? Like, if anybody's old enough, you might remember a pedal like the Stack in the Box. Like, I remember that, like Marshall in a Box style pedals. There eventually Marshall came out with the Governor. That was a really good one. But they were still sort of seen as a gateway to getting maybe a real Marshall, like if you were using them as your primary distortion, like source of distortion. But nowadays, there's these pedals that are like, I mean, the Sir Riot is really good, the BEOD from Friedman, and this one is like really amazing as well. It's like just a good sound going into the clean channel of my PT100, which is a great big, really good sounding amp, high headroom, all that stuff, a big Fendery style clean. So I'm going to attribute some of this shift to both the explosion in pedals, and pedals are kind of fun, I guess. People see them as this way to shape their tone and get different colors going. And pedal boards, no two are the same. They're all like snowflakes. You can kind of configure how you want, and that's what kind of makes them fun, I guess. So that there's an allure to that, I guess, like and it's a lot easier to buy a pedal than it is to buy different amps. So yeah, one good amp platform and then a bunch of pedals makes sense in some ways, I guess. I should say I'm a diehard amp, tube amp distortion through and through guy. I mean, that's what I love, and that's why I have these amps here. But there are some pedals now that sound pretty incredible. I was going to say, I kind of attribute it towards maybe John Mayer could be one of the folks that, when I look at Matthias Assato, who's like a sort of a disciple of John Mayer in many ways, and he'll tell you that he, John Mayer was his gateway to Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix and everything. He heard him and he changed his whole style kind of. He started to play much differently. He was kind of a metal guy before that, and then he heard Mayer, and that style was really appealing. And Mayer is a clean amp pedals guy. You know, that's how he gets his sound. Big, high headroom, 100 watts, platform, and then you hit it with the pedal. And so maybe that was part of he was part of the gateway towards, pedals being seen as a pro player way to get distortion. Because that's kind of really what I'm saying is this is now like, if not the norm, it's a totally viable alternative in the professional world. There's plenty of, gigging players. Maybe you don't see it in metal, because they're still tried and true amps, and they're either using Kempers or something, or they're using amps, even preamps and power amps and things, but not so much clean amps and pedals. But certainly in like pop world, country world, any kind of like lots of other styles of music, you're going to see professional players out playing in front of thousands of people using distortion pedals into clean amps for their primary distortion tone. So that's my little rant to start off this. I don't even know if it's a rant. It's just an observation, really. But this one, when you hear it, I mean, it's really, really good sounding. It's got this really good, like you could make a record using this into a good, good clean channel, great speaker. You still need all that stuff, but it's a terrific sounding distortion sound. And Las Lunas, of course, it's meant to capture the, Dia from Femaram's a big Van Halen fan. So Las Lunas was, of course, the street where EVH grew up, and his brother, and yeah. Speaking of which, building a pedal board with lots of EVH themed stuff. Maybe you should check out this pedal. Even though you've probably got the amps covered already, I bet. But okay, I'm just gonna go back through the chat here and see what you guys have been talking about a little bit. I'm pretty far back. And what do we got? We got about 158 people online. Nice to have you guys here. And I'll be here for the next hour and a half or so. Joe says, heading to my parents' house to cut the grass, and they're out of town, so I have a nice quiet house to record my dad's piano. I'll watch later. Oh, that sounds nice. That's awesome. Sounds like a good way to spend a Sunday. Yeah. Okay. What else have we got here? Let's see. Braxall says, thinking of getting another Super Strat tuned down with a Floyd. Not sure I want a detuner. Oh, yeah, you already got one guitar like that. I don't know that you need another one. The detuner's cool. It's finicky, though. As you know, it's got to be just, it does work, but you have to kind of set it up constantly. I find, like, on the daily. If you're going to use it at a gig and you just used it yesterday, probably best to check it again today to make sure that the like with the exact fine tune adjustment and everything. Because when I developed my clinic that's called Inspired by the Tone that I go do, I wrote some pieces of music where I'm using the detuner, and I need to flip it and get from standard to drop D in the matter of within a bar, kind of. I've got very little time to get there, and so I have to use it. So, but I learned how to get good at dialing it in because of that. So, yeah. Okay. Your demos always sound great. Thanks, I appreciate it. You should hear the tone on this one coming up. It's a good tone. I got a couple videos that'll be coming this week. One of them will be for this pedal, and then another one later in the week for an amp. So, yeah. I ordered the MXR flanger doubler. I think I've got one on the way as well. Yeah, I think I've got one coming as well. Looking forward to checking it, because it does sound really cool in what I've heard. So, I'm just going to touch on this for a second here. Very sad news about Tim Brown. It's true, our drummer with Classic Rock Show passed away. It was part of why last week I was saying, that I needed you guys to help cheer me up and stuff, because I knew at that point. But anyways, yeah, absolutely. Super sad for all of us involved, his friends, his family. It's devastating. I'll just say that everybody's grieving right now, and there's no right or wrong way to grieve, and I don't really want to touch on it on the show. And so just kind of the standard ask, I guess, just asking for privacy and for the family, friends, coworkers, everybody involved and everything, because everybody's processing and dealing with it in their own way. So uh, that's that's kind of what I'll say about it on this show today. But it's never, I'm no stranger to this type of thing, and it's never easy, but what a world. Anyways, okay. Um, let's see. Let's change this subject now, and just say, Tim, rest in peace. Okay. Yeah, plexis take gain pedals so well. So the thing with plexis is that they do, in a way, take boosts well and overdrive pedals, and but a distortion pedal, yes, you can use with something like a plexi, but you're going to have to run it into the darker channel, the channel 2, generally speaking. I don't really like the sound of when you get too much hard clipping going into something that's hard clipping, it can tend to sound like blocked, or just kind of like not a good distortion sound. So soft clipping going into hard clipping, which would be like a super overdrive or tube screamer going into a plexi, yeah, you can do that, but it's when you've got a pedal like this that's doing full-blown distortion. I would run into the second input on the Marshall, the darker, sort of more neutral one, and roll with that. Yeah, yeah, and that'll work. So let's see. Yeah, been using my Jan Ray a lot. Yeah, the Jan Ray has been a mainstay on boards for me. It's not always on my boards, but I did develop an affinity for it. It's a great overdrive that I really like it at lower gain and in kind of a fattening way, that like you can even use it for clean stuff if you have the gain on it set just around 10 o'clock, and it's got a ton of output. So I always have, like, I think it's like gain on 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock maximum. And then, or is that how I run it? Let me see. No, sorry. Gain up around 1 o'clock. That's where I set the drive. And then the volume, I always have it about 9 o'clock because it's got a ton of output. And then the bass, I usually have around 11 o'clock, and the treble around 1 or 2 o'clock. So, and I find then it's just a really nice sort of low gain drive. But you can also get a great clean sound out of it by just rolling the volume down on the guitar, and it's like a fatter clean than you would have just through a Fender style clean channel or something. So I'll use it sometimes for that, for like that fatter clean, and also sometimes with a compressor in front. It's really nice, or combining it with a Klon style boost going into it for solos. That's really nice, like running it as a light overdrive and then hitting it with a Klon with a bit of drive and boosting a bit into the Jan Ray. And that's a nice fat lead sound, I find. Not like, metal lead sound, but when I think about, I was just going to touch a little bit on the distortion pedal thing again one more time. I was also thinking about Robin Ford would be another example in a different style, where Robin is known for Dumble, right? I mean, using a Dumble for many years, and that's a big part of his sound. But when he can't take his Dumble, he would get a super reverb, Fender, and the Zen Drive. And the Zen Drive is a great sounding pedal that is, another amp in a box kind of Dumble-y drive that covers the that's the sound, the distortion sound. It's like, it's not boosting into an already dirty. It's kind of meant to do its own thing. It's got a great sustaining, smooth around the edges, kind of really nice, soulful sound. I kind of want to find my Zen Drive again. It's somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I've got it here somewhere, and plug it in and experiment with it. Because that Dumble-y drive thing it's cool. It's a different thing. It's not the main sound that I've always gone for, which is the much more Marshall thing. But I do appreciate it more and more for certain things. The kind of the American gain sound with its fatter, smoother thing. I've often thought that if I ever was to play with Don Henley again, I would try using the Hedgehog amp, from Sir, because it's, you know, uh, should have, had that chance back in the day. I wish I had that chance to play when I was playing with him, to try that, like just a 212 combo, 50 watts, kind of clean, with good headroom. You don't need to play loud in his band. He doesn't like it. So, just a, yeah, 212 mono Hedgehog, and that for solos and stuff, it probably would have been just lovely. It's a great dumbly sounding amp. Anyway, okay, what else? I thought Vi used, well, okay, so Steve and Joe both were DS1 users, and yes, that is a thing. Really don't think that I like, so standing beside Steve, I would pay attention and watch when he would hit drives. And generally speaking, when he would hit what I believe was the DS1, because it's, there's the two sides to his, one's like a screamer and one's like a DS1 on his signature pedal, would be over the top high stuff up on the high strings. Then he'd hit the DS1. I could watch him do it, and he'd hit it when he was like sometimes soloing at the end of Tender Surrender, for instance. He'll go all the way from very, very quiet in the low gain and volume down on the guitar to sustaining and playing, kind of arpeggios moving down the neck and things like that with a lot of sustain. And for that, I would see him hit the DS1. So I want to say, don't quote me on it, but I want to say I don't think he uses it on rhythm stuff. That it was mostly for high sustaining over the top lead stuff. The DS1, I never really understood that much. I don't really like the sound of them, but after I did a video on it a while ago, I think I called it, "Okay, I get it now," or something like the video, because it was almost like I discovered, like, okay, it's almost like, in some ways, like a fuzz. Like you use it to kind of round the attack, make everything easier, endless sustain sort of stuff. Not so much for like big organic martially chords, that's not the thing that it does, but it does have kind of a cool lead thing, in the same way that a big muff has a kind of a cool lead thing. It's different than a big muff, but there's a similarity there where it's like, this big sustaining softer attack on the note thing, almost like, hard clipping. We're not really that far off in my mind from a fuzz in many ways when we're talking about hard clipping distortions. It's a different thing, but a fuzz is like a primitive version of it. And sometimes the uses are the same, I think. So Joe also uses DS1. Both those guys have unconventional ways of getting there. Steve Stevens mentioned this week that he thought he sort of helped to open Steve Vai's eyes to amp tones, because when they were making Eat 'Em and Smile, Steve, I think, lent some amps to the camp, to the Ted Templeman and the Daily Roth camp. And that's when Steve went, I got to go out and get these Jose Marshalls, and started, buying up some Plexis. And, I made a video here and on one of Steve's Jose amps and stuff a long time ago that maybe you've seen. And yeah, Stevens was kind of the gateway maybe to, like, and I think Steve would totally say, yeah, that's the case. I think so. But anyway, like a lot of guitar players, the DS1, I mean, it was out since the late 70s, I think, like 78 or 9, that pedal came out. A lot of guitar players would probably just get one and put it in front of an amp and go, oh, there it is. There's some sustain, and use. And I'm sure that was probably Steve. Steve probably had one going way the heck back, and it was a way to get there. And then, it's interesting, like, they don't try everything, a lot of these legendary guitar players. They don't try every single different, they find something that works, and then they kind of stick with it. I think there's something to that, they get inside things. I mean, look, a lot of us used to really kind of wring a lot out of the gear that we had, for one reason or another. Maybe we couldn't afford, a ton of pedals, or there just wasn't a lot available. But it's like we would really get inside. Like when I had a little 6-space rack with a Rocktron Replifex in it and a few pedals on a drawer with a GCX switcher, I could make that stuff sound like a lot of different tones, like, because I really got inside the Replifex and, just really learned how to use my rig. And I think there's something to like even like Eddie Van Halen SDE 3000s, using the same stuff for a long time. You know, he was a guy that, like, he did I don't really think he experimented a ton with a million different amps, and, like, once he was successful, he's spending most of his time writing songs and in the studio and on tour and working and things. He wasn't, like, constantly buying every single piece of gear, and there are pros out there that do that stuff. Joe Walsh is kinda legendary for, like, boxes of showing up with at sound check with a box of pedals and handing them to his tech and going, "Put this one and this one and this one on the board tonight." And, the tech being like, and constantly always, warehouse full of gear. And he's a guy that, like, evidently, is really into it, like ton of different guitars, amps. That's why you see him with a lot of guitars and different combos and things that he uses at gigs. He's into the he's into the stuff. But there's a lot of guitar players that just don't experiment that much. They that are serious pros. They find something that works, like a DS1, and then roll with it for a while. Steve went through an experimentation phase, excuse me, like around maybe the early 2000s, where he was talking about I'd get a Bogner or a Soldano and I'd use these amps for a season. I remember him saying that, like, you know, uh, liking them and, using them for a tour and album cycle, something like that. An SLO or a Bogner, and experimenting. And then, yeah, so. To some degree, as many things as I get to try because of this sort of what I consider my small business or side career of YouTube. Um, in some ways, I do spend time, yeah, sure, trying different pedals, trying a ton of different stuff. But when I go to tour, I've used the same amp for, like, it's been a PT100 pretty much. A couple exceptions where I've taken the SL68 out or the Kelly once in 2012, but it's been PT100s for 15 years, so I found something that works on the road and I kind of roll with it. Pedals change and things, but a lot stays the same. Yeah. Somebody says I'm not a big Mayer fan. I am. I think he's a great guitar player. He's a really, really good songwriter, and I think he's terrific. So, to each his own. But I mean, when people say they don't like him, I almost feel like it's not the playing or the music oftentimes. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Ian, but I like him. I think he's really great. You know, I like a lot of players, man. I dislike very little. It's funny. There's not that many. I always try and see the good in maybe somebody's a snappy dresser. They're not the greatest guitar player, but man, they always have a cool shirt on or whatever. I'm always like the glasses half full guy. So it's pretty rare that you'll hear me say, like, that I'm, n- you know, not in, but I'm not, there's nothing wrong with saying that you don't like things either. That's not criticism of that at all. So, yeah. Wonder if you could do a D tuner on a high E string as well as a low E for double drop D. Oh, you know, dude, the problem is that, and not a lot of people know this, I find, that don't have one or haven't experimented with it, but you can't really use the fine tuner when you use the detuner feature. So, in other words, like, if you want to use the detuner that comes on my guitar, you kind of have to tune the low string and to D, and then lock it at the nut, and then you push the thing in and it goes up to E, and you need to fine tune it then to get the exact, like, not on the fine tuner but on the little set Allen screw. There's a little set screw that lets you, when the string is perfectly in tune at D and then you push in the D tuner, it should go perfectly to E. If it doesn't, then there's a little set screw and you just turn it and you can make it sharp or flat. Now, you use the fine tuner at all, like the standard Floyd Rose, fine tuner for the string, and it throws all that out of whack. So you can't. So then you would have two strings where the fine tuners are not functioning. And and furthermore, I think just the range of I don't know why it is, but you know what I mean? Like the high string doesn't move as much when you move the fine tuner. The low string tends to move more faster when so I don't think it would work on a high string. I just don't think so. But also you get into the tension of the neck when you're changing two strings so much, and dropping the tension. I just don't think it would work that good, to be honest, for a few different reasons. Um, yeah, yeah. I'm not like a massive fan of the device. I have it on the one guitar, and it is useful, I think, for some things, but it's slightly problematic. Um, and sometimes I just don't use it, and I can kind of take it or leave it. Cool idea, a little finicky to use. That's my judgment on the. I'm sort of like lukewarm on it on the detuner. Yeah. Um. Okay. Okay. What's this? Oh, is this the Marshall Billy Joe? Yeah. Have I tried it? I haven't tried it. Yeah, no, I haven't tried it, but I know the sound is a crunch mod. Was like a variation. There's a few different variations of that mod, but it's a crunch mod which was developed by Sir. Uh, and I'm really familiar with that sound because it's really not that far off from channel 2 of my PT100. It's the same sort of architecture, just component values are different. So I kind of know the sound and I know what they do. And the Billy Joy amp sounds cool for sure to me. I think it sounds really good. Uh, it's got a great dry, just ballsy distortion. So yeah. Uh, Have you ever tried a high pass guitar tone control adjustable low cut? I tried one and love it. Not for just rolling off lows, but acts as impedance. Great for fuzzes. I have not. High pass guitar tone control. Huh. How's it work with the impedance? It's interesting. I haven't though. I haven't checked it out. Okay. What else? What else? Braxall is using his Tone King Imperial 2 preamp running 4 cable with the Friedman Jose. So you've got it set up so you can have a true clean channel. That's cool. Yeah, you're utilizing the stuff, all the features. That's cool. Yeah, the Tone King preamp sounds really good. It's a really nice, American Fendery, really good product, I think. If you had the Tone King preamp and you had a, BE or an IRX, I should say, you'd have a lot of tone covered, like from kind of, clean and reverb, vibey through to kind of a nice low gain drive to high gain, plexi to kind of high gain on the IRX. You could make records with all that easily, Yeah. If you could only have one H90 or H9, which would you take? Well, probably an H90 because it's just like having two H9s. It does more. Okay. I think I missed a super chat there. I'll get to that in just a second. Yeah. Sorry, one sec here. In-ear monitors are an old pair of Shure that were top of the line in the early 2000s. They sound like a DS1 straight to the skull. '09 records. I got to get a new pair. I'm looking at new in-ears. As usual, I have expensive taste, so I tried the Fur Audio ones, which are really exceptional, but they're quite expensive. So I'm contemplating getting a pair of those soon. But and they were really cool. They've got the Fur Audio. It's FIR, I think, not FUR. FIR. They have this bone conducting thing for the low end where there's like a little speaker or something that faces backwards towards your in your ear canal, and that kind of connects with your ear, and the way that it kind of does the low end is different. It's got kind of, think of it like a subwoofer that's kicking right into your it's not going into the ear, it's like conducting against your bone in your ear. And what I found is that because I took my 64s and they're pretty good. They're A5s, 5 driver, mid-range, 64 audio ones that I've used for a long time, and I just know them. And they did sound better. The fur sounded way clearer through all the different frequencies. It was almost like going to my barefoot speakers after my Atom A7X. Um, they just sound more defined all the way from the lows through, like, it's like everything's punchier, clearer, all the frequencies. It's just a richer experience. So I'm like, "Oh, I guess I should maybe get these." Yeah. 'Cause in-ears, we've talked a lot about it. It's always hard for me. So it's like, I kinda want the best possible scenario when it comes to that. One thing I should mention is I tried on the Sativai tour, we had the latest generation, which I think uses their Axient technology, but the Shure transmitter and receiver, uh, for the in-ears. So that's generally provided by the sound company. It's not something I have any power over, but they did have the next gen, kinda latest generation, transmitter receiver for the in-ears, and that sounded great. It was, like, really clear, super duper, and it's like it sounded wider, like the imaging was better. It sounded more like I'm just using headphones as opposed to something that's, you know, uh, over wireless. This cup is like a dribble cup. It's been dribbling all over me ever since I bought this coffee today. It pisses me off. I don't like it. For the coffee fund, speaking of which, DPA mold, I'll go to a Arnold, I should say, DP Arnold. I should go to a place that has better cups next week. So now I have the money to do that, all because of you, my friend. You fixed me up. I appreciate your super chat. I do. Thank you. DS1 into my 68 50-watt Plexi sounds cool, not the best, but it has its thing. Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean about, like, somebody like Steve using it, or it's like, yeah, it's a sound, and he's an exceptional musician that kind of, like, his playing transcends whatever he's plugged into anyway, so it's like, you know there's such a thing as, like, exceptional guitar players playing through mid gear that, have made great records and done stuff that is unbelievable and blows our minds. And then there's plenty of, like, ho hum guitar players or average guitar players playing through the best. And it doesn't really sound that exceptional because at the end of the day, that's the tone is in your hands factor. Right. So, you know what I mean? So it's like that whole, like, I tried Eddie's rig and I sounded just like me. It's like it's yeah, it's not so much about that, is it? So much of it has to do with anyways, blah 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 blah. Somebody says you're a serious professional and a true tone chaser. That's CBUSCH. Hey man, what's up? How are you? Why can't I talk? CBUSHZ. What am I, dyslexic? It's possible. I've never been tested. I don't know. It could be. Or maybe I'm just caffeinated and my brain's going faster than I can talk. Todd says, I like John Mayer too. Yeah, I mean, he's great. What a good player, and writes good songs and melodies. And I don't know. What's not to like? Braxall says, I like all guitar players. If somebody's plays in time and in tune and, writes some good songs and play something soulful, I'm in. I don't know. I guess I'm easy to please. I own 2 pedals, Boss SD1 Keeley modded and Dunlop Rotavide. That's it. That's cool. You can probably get a lot of mileage out of those 2 pedals. It's like Tom Morello, he's a great example of, like, what I was talking about, where it's like pro guitar player, whole career, hasn't really changed anything. It's like the same head and cabinet. And I loved it. Like, when I read his article about it, about how he, like, decided this was his sound and this is what he was going to work with, and he wasn't going to get on the gear train of, like, constantly buying pedals and amps and I'm just, here's my stuff, I'll set it to sound as good as it can sound, and that's it. And now let's write a bunch of records and go on tour for the next 25 years. So that's kind of what he did. I envy it. I do. I don't know enough about Mayer's music to be a fan. He seems to be an awesome player for what I've seen. Yeah, I mean, sure. I don't really. I don't know that. I couldn't tell you other than the first record, like, because I remember when it came out and the songs that were on it that were hits. I couldn't really tell you what records the other songs come off of either. you know, but I just like his playing. I know that when I hear him, and um, I respect him. And I actually often thought I should do a deeper dive and learn a little more, like get into the like, okay, what's the progression, and like listen to the records and put an hour or two into. Okay, I see, like, you know, so that I understand a little better. Yeah. How's the new amp coming along? Well, right behind the window of, you know, the internet window, or like whatever Google Chrome window I'm using for this right now, is a picture of it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm not going to show it to you. But there, you know, I put it in my foreground. It looks awesome. So it's coming along great. So um, I'm pushing, you know, every week, and they're working. They're working hard. I mean, John and Kevin, they've got a lot to do with it. It's a lot on Kevin, and there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of features and things that we've asked for. Well, trying to keep it simple. It'll make sense. Is it won't be complicated or too many bells and whistles. I don't think. I think we've done a great job of keeping it on track and making sense and functioning much really like a PT15 in many ways, but with all these options that you can use if you want to, you know, which are very simple and easy to try, just as far as like, well, let me see what this sounds like. Okay, that's cool. Well, let's go back to the other way. Okay, that's cool. You know, they're both cool. I don't know, you know, and then it's so easy. And it's going to be really cool. So it's coming. And I'm just pushing hard to make sure we can have something we can show at the NAMM show. Yeah. Yep. And they're doing the best they can. It's a great team. I love working with these guys. You know, they're my family. So okay. The glass is 50% of the volume of the glass. It's not half full or half empty. Huh? You make my head hurt. Your knees hurt. My head hurts. The only thing I do know, like, I'm just a guitar player with a high school education. I was terrible at math. Yeah. Sugaku ga chotto desu. For all you Japanese. One thing I don't like is these singers that just scream in the mic to make as much noise as they can. Well, it's supposed to be an expression of probably angst or anxiety or anger, I guess, and frustration. And then when other people connect with that feeling, they're fans of that sort of thing. You know, I think that's all it is. So it's just a different. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, moving on. Just watch new videos on Terry Gilgore. Are you talking about Kilgore? I knew Terry a bit. Friends with Eddie Van Halen. I didn't know Eddie took a lot of techniques from Terry's guitar playing. That's what people say. Some people say Eddie took some lessons from Terry. I don't know. I never asked Terry about that. I've been to the guy's house. I bought tubes from him, incidentally. They none of them worked very well. I had just the last week, my top hat blew up. Wasn't working. That's when I did the video for the Sir treble booster, the Brighton. Uh, and I went to use my top hat, which I'd put these tubes in it that I'd had for years, but they were brand new, you know, whatever, NOS. And they were some old, sort of like 70s Russian military equivalent to a EL-84 that Terry was raving about. So I bought a set from him, and they were in that amp, and the amp worked for, I mean, I didn't use it very much, on and off a few times. And then one day I fired it up and it just was crapping out, didn't work. And I had to replace those tubes because they were bad. So anyways, and I had another few other, like some Mullards and things I bought from him that didn't last very long. So he fancied himself a tube dealer back in the day. But the reality is, I think with NOS tubes is they're pretty picked over these days, and it's hard to find, you know, it's 20 years ago, they were probably getting picked over. So, but yeah, he used to sell tubes, and I went to his place in Pasadena and got some tubes from him. He played, when Jason Becker did the A Little Ain't Enough Dave Lee Roth album, and then he had to bow out due to his terrible, you know, debilitating illness. They got Terry, I do believe, and maybe one other guitar player, joined on for whatever kind of promotion or touring there was. I don't think there was very much for that record. but it was back around 91, and I remember Terry doing it. Um, so I guess, that goes way back, obviously, Pasadena stuff. He probably I actually, I don't even know what's up with Terry these days. I'm not sure. It's a long time ago since I'd talked to him, but he was a character, he was like a San Gabriel Valley, um, rock and roll character from back in those days. So, yeah, 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 yeah. Uh, okay. Um Good info on the D tuner. I haven't used it yet on my EVH Stealth. Yeah, just Joe, what you got to do is back the fine tuner all the way out if you want to try it on that string. So just back it all the way out. Then open up the nut, the nut lock, tune the low string to D, get it perfect, nailed, and then tighten the nut and lock it. And if the nut is set up right with the bar that goes behind it that pushes the string down to go to the tuners, when you lock, you should still be in tune, like, with that. You shouldn't go sharp or, there's an issue. If it does, then you gotta get the kind of the way the nut is functioning with the bar behind all set and everything just right. But when you lock it down, as long as it's just still in tune, there's a D, push the fine tuner or push the D tuner, keep saying fine tuner, push the D tuner in, and it should go up to E. If it doesn't go up to E, if it's sharp or whatever it is, just get in there and turn the little set screw with the provided Allen wrench. It's tiny. You'll see it on the side of the D tuna, and get that right in tune to E. Then pull it out again and just kind of rinse, repeat. Do it all again. You might have to unlock and tune the string again. Just make sure it's just right. Lock it at the nut. You're in tune to D now. Now push it in again and fine tune it. And it's really hard to get it just perfect, but you can get really close to where it's at least acceptable. But then like I say, I've found that I'll go to do a gig or whatever the next day, and I kind of need to do it again. Like, maybe I just need to adjust that little Allen screw again. So it's kind of a daily thing if you're relying on it, that you need to. I've found, maybe your mileage may vary. Maybe you'll set it and find, like, no, it's pretty cool. Like, I don't really mess with it until I change strings or something. It's like, okay, but for me, I just found I had to tweak it pretty regularly. Yeah. Uh, yeah. The importance of reading and following the instructions of the D tuner cannot be overstated. Yeah, because I didn't even realize for years that you couldn't use the fine tuner. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. Come on, we're all guilty. Use the fine tuner or detuner when we don't feel like or have time to turn the grub screw. Oh, well, if if you don't care, like, if you just drop it and it's slightly out of tune and then you tune real quick, that's cool. Then you can use the fine tuner. I'm just talking about if you gotta, like I was within the same sort of piece of music using it. So, like, I don't have that option. I needed it to work, like, perfectly without referencing a tuner and having any time to tune when I'd go from one setting to the other. You just wanted to stay in tune, Yeah. It's like Eddie Van Halen. I mean, the way he would use it, that dude didn't even have a tuner on his pedal board. He doesn't tune, like, on stage. That's not a thing. I'm pretty sure, as I remember, like, none of his boards have tuners. It was just, he's handed a guitar and tune. He's always got a tech. So, that was the way that he rolled. And then if he would use it on stage, it had to be perfect. No time to tune. No tuner to tune. Yeah. I hear that Johnny Depp is using 2 of the Billy Joe amp heads with Hollywood Vampires. That's interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just moving down. I'm reading your comments here. Saw you on Satchify Tour. You were great. Hey, thanks. Appreciate that. Also, the algorithm started showing me your "You Want to Be a Musician" videos, and they are great. Thank you. Not a musician, but it's good general advice. Thanks. Yeah. Most of the whatever advice or anything that's in there is just things that I would think would apply to just about any job. Just getting along with people and being a good hang and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you saying, though. Thank you. Yeah. So are you digging the Los Lunas? Yeah, it's exceptional. It's a really, really good distortion pedal. And you'll hear it in the video. I mean, it's got The tone is sweet, man. Tone for days, for sure. Yeah. What's your opinion of the PRS 24? Cool, kind of, super it's kind of like, in some ways, similar to my signature guitar with 2 humbuckers, like this one, the black one. Really, like, in the sense that it's a 2 humbucker, kind of lots of switching options sort of axe. I can feel this friggin' coffee just dripping all over me. I don't care anymore. I don't care. I guess I care a little. Uh, yeah, dribble cup. I hate them. Yeah, I had one. It was good. I think occasionally the guy that I sold it to watches this show. He could be here now. This is back in the 90s. I used it as I've had 2 PRSs. That's it in my life. Super chats there. I'll grab those in just a sec. I had a C24 first, and then I got a McCarty. The McCarty was really cool. The C24, cool, versatile guitar. I don't really remember it having a distinct tone of any sort, but it was a playable guitar with a nice neck. I remember it kind of wide, flat neck that was comfortable. Maple neck. I might have stripped the finish off the neck if it wasn't already. I seem to remember that. Maybe not. Maybe it was just a raw, kind of oiled feel. Because they were kind of the first PRS that was sort of like alder body, not maple top, but it was alder body. It looked like your standard PRS, but it was it was bolt on, right? Yeah, bolt on with alder body, maple neck, rosewood fingerboard, kind of more like Strat woods. It was solid, but this is going back 30 years too. So yeah. Uh yeah. Arthur says I don't know enough about different in-ears. Well, you just have to try them. I mean, my one uh, my one um observation is that if they have too many drivers, they generally would get bassier, but I think they've rectified that to some degree in later systems. But it used to be, oh, try these. They've got 12 drivers. They're awesome. And I try them and go, this just sounds like sub full crazy. Like I can't tell what's going on with guitar at all on these. So, and they'd be like, oh no, you want our 3 or 4 driver, remember that happening. And why do you make them with so many drivers? But I guess there's styles of music where people love all that bass in the ears. Somebody says that in-ears are bad for your hearing eventually. I don't really agree with that. It's down to how loud you listen. And you can set a limiter, and certainly you can listen too loud and screw your ears up. But you can also play a Marshall amp really loud or stand next to a snare drum and crash cymbals, and obviously bugger your ears up. So that was the comment there. It's really down to personal responsibility and just making sure you set the levels carefully. I always find I got to set it slightly lower than where I would like it. And then my ears don't ring too much after a show. It's like if I want it good and loud, and it's like, just back it down a little and get used to that. And don't touch it. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Don't turn it up anymore. Just leave it. And you'll thank yourself later because you'll be hearing clear after the show and everything will be great. So, yeah. It can be hard, that balance, because it's like often subs are loud and you're on stage and you're just trying to get them up to the level where they're above that. And you feel like you're primarily hearing the in-ears then, and not like stage ambience or a loud bass amp that's behind you or whatever the case is. Yeah, it's all a balancing act, but there's they're not all created equal either. They've got these, vents in them things. Some of them, like the 8L system, was supposed to relieve pressure on the eardrum, and that is in the 64s. Is it marketing or does it really work? I don't know. But the Furs are an offshoot of 64. This company, they sort of split and formed this other company, and they have a similar technology in them. Anyway, there's a lot to consider and unpack when it comes to in-ears. But I find as a guitar player, it's like, just make sure you get a good 3 driver, 4 driver, 5 driver, 6 driver. You don't need more than that, and you kind of want to focus on something that says it's got rich, detailed mid-range and clear high end in the ad speak, not anything that's like pummeling lows. And, we don't have a lot of anything below 100 hertz in our guitars. So Um, yeah. So, okay, I am just moving. I'm gonna go fairly quickly here and find that super chat that just disappeared on my screen. I'll get to that in just a second. Recently picked up a 1978 Les Paul Stanley. Cool. That's awesome. Those are cool guitars. I love the 70s Ibanez. Good stuff. So yeah, yeah, good stuff. I love my Destroyer. They were well-made guitars. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. There's that super chat. During your time in Japan, did you ever check out Akira Takasaki's killer guitars? Yes. I actually thought about buying one the last time I was there because there was a great deal on one. It was only like I think it's that one, the Exploder. That was the one I was looking at actually, and there was a green one in the ESP store in Shibuya that was for like $600. I was like, "Ooh, I should kind of buy this guitar. Like, it's kind of fun. Like, it's cool." And then I just didn't. Um, the only thing about them is I wish the neck was a little wider. It is definitely a 1 and 5/8, if not even narrower. It's kind of like the width of the neck is probably not that dissimilar to something like the Ernie Ball Axis, or like it's a fairly narrow width. Um, so I noticed that about it, but it is really cool. Like, and this green one was cool. It's like lime green, or like metallic kind of green, bitchin' looking, and not expensive. But yeah, you see Akira's guitars in a lot of stores in Shibuya, and just gonna turn on my fan here. It's hot in LA today. It is hot. Yeah, you see his guitars in quite a few, just about every shop, in Japan. If it's a good size music store, they'll have some Akira models in there. So pretty cool. Yeah. And there's one more super chat I'll grab there. Thank you guys for the super chats. I appreciate the support. Apologize if you haven't answered this before. Have you considered co-writing for your upcoming recording project to integrate lyrics and stories into some of the songs? Well, to be honest, I actually, there is a song that I have recorded that's with lyrics, but it's my song that I, sang and did. And I think I'm just going to include it on the record. I recorded it a while back, but it's done. And it was going to kind of be a surprise, but now it's not. But yeah, I thought I'd just put that on there because I'm proud of it. So it's, I'm not a great lyricist by any means, and it's not something that I claim to really even enjoy that much, but it was fun doing this one tune. It was something I did kind of off the cuff, which is generally when you write your best stuff because you're not thinking too hard or overthinking. And just the melodies and the way the tune, it's a cool little tune, I think, and it turned out really good. So I might as well put it out. So there's kind of one song's done already because I did it, and I've been meaning to put it out for a long time. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna put it on the record. So why not? So there's that. What else? Arthur says he's not a PRS guy. I could never find one that felt right. Often I'm pleasantly surprised when I pick them up and try them. I'm kind of one of I appreciate the way they look, but I'm not like, oh, I could see myself playing one of those on stage. I'm just not that guy. But it's not that I don't appreciate them. Some of them I think look very nice. Then I'll try one and go, this is a really nice guitar, like great neck and really playable. And I mean, they're a very successful guitar company for a reason. I think they've done good work. So yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. See, this fella here says, bought a custom 24 Bird with vibrato, new in 95. Still my number one. Works for me. That's cool. You found your zone. Yeah, people seem very loyal to them. When people use them, they seem very happy. And I really like John's from the guitar player that plays in Wolfsbane in Mammoth. He plays a gray one with one pickup a lot, and it's like as simple as can be, or it's silver. That guitar looks really cool, I think. Just the Rock Machine one, pretty cool. Prototype Santana model PRS gave But gave it away because I hated it so much. Well, there you go. Different strokes. Yeah. Okay, what else? Have you seen Dweezil's signature Shabbat? It has a weird switch which makes kind of a passive octave sound in the in-between position. Very cool. Have you ever seen that circuit? No, I haven't. I've seen the guitar though. It looks cool. Kind of like Dweezil's own super stratty, you know. Yeah, it's cool. Definitely. With in-ears, do you ever have conflicts with stage sound? Do you have to watch where you go? Phase issues with the live stage sound? Not really, because the ears are in and they're blocking enough that I don't ever have the phase thing, really. It's not really a problem. I think bass players might feel it more, where like, you know, the phase of the low end is like because of bass and how it vibrates, and just like they seem to notice it more in ears than I ever would as a guitar player. I don't really know. I can't really hear you can't feel guitar. So, I mean, a little bit, but not like bass, you know, where sometimes bass players complain about like sub and getting to the front of the stage and they can't really make out their tone, or they can't. I think it's like phase stuff that happens between a PA and a big PA and big subs. You know, there's so much power in the bass, and it because it bass isn't really directional like high frequencies above a certain point. Bass goes everywhere, which is why, you know, your home stereo or whatever, if you get one of those sound bars or whatever, it's stereo, or you get a couple, you know, a left and right speaker and then one sub. They don't give you like stereo subs because you don't, below a certain frequency, bass doesn't, you can't read whether it's coming from the right or left, is what I'm saying. So it's only above, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's 100 or 70 hertz, 80 hertz, 200 hertz, whatever it is. Somebody can look it up on the internet, but where you can actually discern where that sound is coming from, you know. So that's why you have one sub and two speakers for, you know, your home system or whatever often. But yeah, that bass that just kind of goes everywhere, you know, and then bass players have a problem with it being canceling and things. But I don't really have those conflicts with in-ears. Not phase per se. Yeah. As a drummer, in-ears are lifesavers. Yeah. I mean, you can control are in-ears perfect? Like for, messing up your hearing? No, you know, there's plenty of opportunity there to run them too hot. Part of it is you can't feel how loud they are because it's only right here. So they can be quite loud. You know, that's what they say about, you know, even iPhone or I mean, like AirPods or earbuds, you know, having them in, kids listening too loud and screwing up their hearing and stuff. Because if, you know, however loud that was, if it was a speaker making that much volume, however many dB, you'd feel it in your body, and you have more of a sensual awareness of like how loud the sound is. When you put it right here, you don't have as much of that awareness, and it can be quite like, oh, that's actually like 103 dB or whatever, but it sounds really good. You know, so it's like not, you don't have the same ability to gauge, I guess, and that's where the danger lies. So that's why I say I always try and get them up to where, okay, that's cool, and then just back it down a hair and see if I can hang there, like go a little lower than what I want it at, because I probably want it too loud, you know. And I think as long as you just kind of are careful and police it like that a little bit, and be conservative with it and stuff, then they can probably save your hearing, you know, over time. Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of like, everybody's in ears are different, the sensitivities and stuff, but sometimes when I'm like, I'll ask people like, well, what do you run your pack at? And they're like, well, mine's on like 6. And I'll be like, really? I've got mine on like 3.5. Like if mine's at 6, I'd be just killing certain drummers and things. When I think I realize how loud they're actually listening, I'm like, oh my God. And that's why they're deaf, you know, because a lot of drummers are deaf. I've got a lot of deaf drummer friends, you know, where it's just like they can't hear. Anyways, where you talk to them and they don't hear you, and you know, totally deaf. Anyone know a good place to get bodies and necks? Looking for a non-pick guard, HH, S shape with Floyd route, 2-knob and flame maple neck, rosewood fingerboard. I mean, Warmoth still seems like a solid place to spec something like that, right? I don't know, Musicraft. What's happening with Musicraft these days? Are they around? Let's see. Or Canny. Musicraft LLC. Are they? Yeah, looks like Musicraft is around and doing stuff. I mean, I bet judging from at least there's an active website. And what about Canny? Canny guitars, custom. I thought one of these kind of went out of business, but I don't remember which one it was. Canny. I'm just looking here. Their website's still active. Maybe they're still rocking. Radicals. Let's see. There's a star body here. Now I got sucked into their site. Sorry. Vintage bodies. I've got my black guitar here that's like, and I never remember what it is. It's either Musicraft body and Canny neck, or a Canny body and Musicraft neck. And I can never remember. I pulled this out this week and was playing it on something on the Los Lunas video. I used it along with my signature HSS model. Just because it's a cool guitar for Van Halen stuff. It's fun. I love that guitar. It's kind of a bear, but it's got its own sound. It's really cool. Definitely something to the Ash and the old Floyd and everything. It's got this just bright, gnarly, rude thing. Yeah. So anyways, there's a few: Canny, Musicraft, and Warmoth. Check those all out. Warmoth being probably the biggest player, I think. All parts. They sell bodies, but I think that I don't know if you can order custom spec routes and stuff like that, like you might need. I think you can do that from Warmoth. I retired from touring just before in-ears became essential, as they also make my ears itch and go crusty. Ew. Needed cream from the docks. That's a lot of information. No, I'm just kidding. Any thoughts about the new Los Lunas pedal from Bremer? Well, I've been talking about it quite a bit. You must have just shown up. There it is right there. It's fantastic, and there's a video for it coming this week. It's a really good sounding overdrive. I made a whole like sort of dissertation earlier about like how I believe it was, John Mayer and other folks that like were big clean amp players using pedals for their tones, overdrives and stuff, that kind of moved the professional, like now it's a professional option. You'll see it on pro stages where people are using distortion pedals as their primary source of distortion, as opposed to, back in the day, it was very few players were doing that. It was all like you used a Marshall for your distortion, and you used a Fender for your clean sound. But there wasn't a lot of people using a Fender with a stack style pedal on pro level. And now it's totally accepted. It's just another way that people do things. It's like, if you see Mateus Asado, he's got he's got one of these on his pedal board, actually. It's more players using pedals to get their tones, I find, with a clean amp platform. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just it's the norm now to some degree. Do you know how the IR load is coming along? I really want it. Yeah, it's almost there. We're just doing some final stuff on it, but it's soon, very soon. I can't give you a date because that's not my job, but soon. Are you going to be in Seattle for the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp? Yes. I am doing a Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp in Seattle with Jerry Cantrell and Kim Thale and some other folks. I'm going to be one of the camp counselors, I guess, instructors. Is that kind of that'll be my role? And I don't really know what I have to do yet, but I think I'll be involved in probably like helping people along, making suggestions or tweaks, improvements. Can you play a little more behind the beat? That kind of thing, yeah. Turn that amp down. You're too loud. You're too quiet. Turn up. No, I don't know. I really haven't got it figured out yet exactly what I'm going to do, but I am looking forward to it because everybody that's done it that I hear says it's really fun and, a cool experience. So, yeah. I'm doing one in LA as well with Warren DeMartini and Michael Anthony, Kenny Aronoff, Brad Gillis. Those are all the main sort of names for the LA one, and then the Seattle themed one I'm doing as well about a month later, I think. So, yep. I thought it'd be fun. I haven't done it yet. I haven't tried one of those. So I was asked by a friend to do it, and I was like, I'll give that a go. Let's do it. Let's do a couple of these. I have time right now towards the end of the year. So, yeah. Honesty time. Do you ever find it exhausting? You're expected to stream every Sunday. You know what? I really don't. That's my honest. I would tell you if I needed a break, and there's times I've taken breaks. It's rare, but I was just thinking about it this morning. Actually, I'm kind of a creature of habit, and as much as I like time I spend on the road going to different cities and doing different things, even when I go to different cities and do different things, I've got my favorite coffee shops and my favorite restaurants and favorite places I like to go, like all over the place. So it just kind of like gets broader, but I'm still doing habitual things. And this thing has been really good for me. Like I really enjoy talking about this stuff. It takes my mind off of, I spend a lot of time alone, and I really do, like more than probably most of you. I don't have kids. I'm like, yeah, it's just like I spend a lot of time by myself and thinking about things, and your mind can get away with itself and kind of, so there's something about spending this time with you guys where we just talk about a shared love of music and guitar and these things that we all enjoy, that I've enjoyed since I was 14. And it's really grounding for me. So I quite look forward to it. It's not anything I ever would have expected. But when I say I really appreciate you all, and I really mean it. Like I really quite enjoy it. So, and I think it's common that us guys that do this, like Friedman's got his show Tone Talk. I don't think he'd do it if he didn't enjoy it, and he obviously enjoys it. He does that, and he's gotten into doing his amp panel show with the, other folks like Dan Gower and the Headstrong Amps guy, and, different folks that do that. Tracy was on one last week that it's like it's a way to hang with friends and, just kind of talk about shared interests. It's like a club, and yeah, I really love it. It's not a burden. I get up every Sunday and I do the same thing, which is I work on, I make a coffee, I work on Japanese I've done that I'm habitual. It's like my, here's my phone. You can see the 751. That's my Duolingo. 751 days of Duolingo. I've done every morning for 751 days for about half an hour to an hour every day. That's my Japanese lessons. Habitual. I like these things. I'm trying to get into, like, I want to go to a gym too, like, or some kind of, get into programs and start working on that, because it's just time I have to. And I'm hoping that becomes like a habitual, like just healthy habits and things. And because I always know that's good for mental health too, and doing so all these things, that I like that make me feel good for keeping on track and stuff, staying in the light and doing good work and all that. So, but anyway, that's my honest feel about this. This is one of these habitual things that I really enjoy and that I feel like is positive. So there's nothing negative about this, the time spent or having to do it. It's like, no, what I get out of it is like just the focus and getting to see you guys every week and see you guys virtually, but talk about shared interests and stuff is really positive. So yeah. Okay. What else? Reading through comments here. There's a super chat I got to grab. Do that in just a second. Did you catch the video of Anthony, Phil X, and Kenny Aronoff jam out some Van Halen? Pretty glorious. Yeah. It's great. Like I love when Phil plays Van Halen, because he does it and he sounds like Phil. He doesn't sound exactly like Eddie. He sounds like Phil, he's a great guitar player in his own right that loves that style, and he can't help but do it in his own way. That's why he's got the SG with the P90, and he's tipping the hat to Ed while also being like, I'm Phil X. I got my own thing, and it's great. He's great at it because he's a great singer and performer, and So it's all in good fun, you know. Uh those guys could easily do with between Phil and Michael, they could easily do a cool set of Van Halen music, down and dirty. Because that's the thing with, you could do a Van Halen like tribute tour, and it'd be like, with people like Roth, or and it would be full blown and be all this, or you could just do it like that, where like you go to the whiskey or something, and it's like Phil with a head and cabinet and no, a couple pedals in front of the amp, and Michael, and they're singing and they do it like they do it, like that kind of thing is actually pretty interesting. Because that's like the less bells and whistles, let's go down and dirty as a trio, and because Phil can sing great, Michael can sing some of the tunes, he sings great, and just let's do this down and dirty and have fun, kind of in many ways just as enjoyable, like, I think, so I'm getting a call from Mr. Warren DeMartini. I'm gonna call him back, so yeah, I'll just call him back in a bit, but I know what he's calling me about. Let's see. There's a little something to help keep the caffeine flowing. Thanks, Arthur, for the super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. You emailed you some Rush shots I got Friday night. Oh, yeah, they were in Philadelphia the other night. I'd love to see those. I'll take a look. I saw some videos. They're sounding great as ever. They're so settled in now, aren't they? Like, it's so natural sounding. They sound so good. So, but yeah, really cool. So let's see. I've been here about an hour. I'm going to stay about another half an hour, guys, and then split because I got to get some work done. I got quite a bit with these 2 videos I got to put out this week. So I can do about another half hour, and then I'll go get some good work done, as well as doing this. Yeah. Okay. Todd says he's a former gigging drummer and have hella tinnitus. Yeah, that's no fun. I've got it a little bit too. It's not all the time, but it's kind of all the time at a low level, and then I can really kick it off easy by playing too loud like I did yesterday. Yngwie is cooking up some new stuff. Have you ever met the guy? Well, a couple times. Yeah. Remember when he blew everybody's mind? Hearing aid, Spinal Tap's reaction was the best. Yngwie is Yngwie. He's a legend, He's a legend. Total legend. Yeah. All Parts is still going. Checked Warmoth. Nothing. Really? I thought Warmoth? Musicraft are awesome. Prefer them to my Warmoth necks. Yeah, they seem really good. I think my body is a KNE on that black guitar and a Musicraft neck. I think that's what it is. And the neck is really quite nice, for sure. Yeah. Locke sold his business. They made me that one guitar. They made me a Frankie. It's pretty good. It's really heavy. It's not the body that this one is. This body's heavy, but the Locke one is like a boat anchor, and it just doesn't it's so heavy that it just kind of doesn't resonate as much. I think the neck is pretty good on that guitar that he made me. But to be fair, the bridge was kind of in the wrong place. And it doesn't intonate quite right because of that. So anyways, just a couple things about that guitar that bothered me, but yeah. Okay. Let's see. I think PRS would have been a lot bigger overall had Eddie Van Halen gone with them when they sent him the prototype guitar. That would have been a huge thing. But, PRS still has major endorsers, and many of them. They're a big player. I consider PRS a big guitar company. I consider Sir not a big company, but not a small company. They're a mid-size company. I'm basing this anecdotally. Not on numbers at all, but PRS is a pretty major player. Also because they've opened up to the SE line, which I think the SE line was they're the only guitar company that managed to, I guess it could be argued Fender, but lot of twists and turns there. But I was going to say PRS is the only player that was kind of like a boutique guitar maker that then managed to make a lower price line and not tarnish their image too much. They did it really well, like how they did the SE line. Didn't really work that well for Kramer or Charvel, or it kind of tarnished the, this US custom shop, everybody's using them. They're all the rage. And then, they've got an overseas line now. Kind of diminished the brands, right? Nowadays, we don't think about it that way, maybe, but for a long time, I think, Kramer, the Focus series or the Striker or whatever they were called, or the Charvels, when they moved Charvel to be the overseas line and Jackson was the US line, and then they Charvette. It was like, those guitars aren't cool. Interestingly, I mean, the Charvels that now they're kind of coveted, the first ones from Japan, because in retrospect, they're good guitars. They were well made, and but it still had the effect of cheapening the brand a little bit, even though they were good guitars. It's like Charvel, when they moved, they moved the brand overseas. It's like, it's no longer US made. Charvel was like, in the early 80s, they were like this awesome Sam Demas, Eddie Van Halen's using, everybody's using them all of a sudden. They're like the coolest shit, these guitars, and they weren't cheap. And then they just moved that name to be overseas and kept Jackson for this. And it kind of was like, wish that had never happened. I wish. And nowadays, of course, you can get US made Charvels, but it was a long roundabout trip back to that. Anyways, I'm just saying that PRS, when they did the SE line, they somehow managed to avoid that. They maybe by the SE simple designation and just making a really good guitar and keeping them consistent, because I think they are quite well made. They somehow managed to avoid tarnishing the PRS name or lessening it or something. They just grew their business. So, pretty big company, successful company, to have done what they've done, especially for a guitar. I'm giving PRS lots of credit here, but it's like, especially for a guitar with a different body shape, they managed to do it. It's not a Tele, it's not a Strat. I mean, now they make guitars that are more of those, like the T shape and stuff like that. But it's like, you know what I'm talking about. You see a PRS, it's a PRS from that headstock and the body. They did something a little different, and they still managed to push through, without using, so pretty cool. They were able to do that, I think. Okay. Yeah. I noticed on your thumbnail, the guitar I was just talking about, did you build it yourself? No, I bought it off eBay. I saw it on eBay, and it said it was basically like a Frankie, but not painted to look like a Frankie. It was painted to have the wear of Blackie, Clapton's. So it's bitching, right? It's like somebody did a really nice job aging it, painting it, aging it. It's a hard ash body, so it's quite heavy. It's a Frankie body. I mean, if you were to take the guard off, it would have the Frankie route and all that stuff, I think. So it's basically a Van Halen body. And then the neck, you can see with that cool, like old school 21 fret, it's kind of squared off at the end. It looks like one of those Len Ellsworth sort of necks. And it's got an old 80s Floyd, original Floyd. It has a second degree black belt in it, which I've never changed the pickup from Motor City. That sounds really cool. I kind of wanted to mess around and try other ones, and then my buddy Friedman's always like, "Don't. It sounds great. Like, don't. Why would you change it? It's like cool." And it is cool. He's kind of probably right. So, and yeah, just all the, it's just a cool guitar. I mean, you can see the neck. You see this is really, I mean, there's like a ton of pocket there that's, hanging over for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's kind of weird that that's there, because the neck pocket is tight. Actually, it's not like it's like super loose in the pocket, but it's got this extra lip here for the, I don't know why. Kind of small frets. I wish it had bigger frets, but it's pretty much a ripper. It's a cool guitar. You can see, I mean, it's, super dirty, and it was always beat, because that's the way it looked when I got it. But yeah, guy off eBay, and I bought it for $1,000. So it's cool. I saw Charvel came out with one that looks like that. I mean, it's like that. They came out with one of their SoCal, like whatever models that is exactly like that. It's like, oh, I think those guys copied my guitar with the tortoiseshell guard and the, black like that and everything. But that's cool. What else? What else? What else? Let's see. Music. Everybody's saying Musicraft is the way to go here. So, yeah. Yeah. So what else? What else? What else? Just checked Musicraft. Nothing. Problem is I want. So do you just mean for you, like you can't get, or you're not saying nothing like there's not a site or something, right? Just craft Musicraft, nothing. Problem is I want is all for what? All for 24 fret. I need a dinky but strat. Be a little clearer. Tell me exactly what you're looking for. Like with what do you don't want a 24 fret or you do? I just don't understand. I need like a dinky, but for strat Sur style neck. So is it standard 22? Do you already have the neck? Like, what are you looking for? Are you just looking for a body? Or are you looking for a neck? Give me more, like type it real clear so that then we can all go and look and help you, and see what we can find. Okay. You guys are saying you like the Crunch Box. I tried one of those. I wasn't like blown away by the Crunch Box, but it was a long time ago. I'd have to try it again. This thing is like on some other level of, I have to say, but it's really good. But my favorite distortions, I think, that I've tried this thing is definitely, there's no question, it's a ripper. It's amazing. But the Sir Riot is really good. The Riot Mini is great. The BEOD, the small box from Friedman, those are fantastic. There's a pedal called the Engine from Drybell that is a plexi style preamp thing in a pedal with a treble booster to boost it, like a Rangemaster style boost too. That's a friggin' cool sounding pedal, and one of those pedals that if somebody ran into the right, a clean high watt or something, it's like, yeah, this could be like your tone, your signature tone that like nobody else gets. Like, don't tell anybody what you're using. It's the Engine into I don't know why I said high watt, but yeah, cloud clean, it's absolutely bitchin' sounding pedal that I was like, well, this could be the core of someone's sound. They could make a style around this pedal. It's a really, really good pedal, the Drybell Engine, but a little under the radar. So somebody go get one and make your sound. Go for it. Okay. You should watch the latest That Pedal Show video. The old Boss BE5M multi-effects from the early 90s sounded just about the same as the Vemmer M Jan Ray. Well, it's just, at the end of the day, it's an overdrive and flavors of the week, and we all have our favorites and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, there's plenty of old stuff that was, Friedman's got a sound tank, probably from like 2000 or something, or 99, a digital delay pedal that he loves, and he's got it patched in the loop of his Fryette power station. So sometimes if you're in his shop and you're playing, he'll hit the delay on. He's like, that sounds amazing, like this delay, and it's just literally an Ibanez sound tank, not desirable digital delay from whenever, and it just sounds great. It's got a cool sound. So yeah. Okay. What else are we talking here? Let's see. Time is at 1:38. I'm gonna hang another 20 minutes or so. Okay. About the big box, black and purple Carl Martin Plexitone. That's another great amp in a box. There are two versions, one with an AC cable and one with an adapter. I've heard they sound different. I don't know. Never got to compare. Interesting. Maybe. It's possible, I guess, if the power supplies aren't quite, I'm sure they designed one of the charge pump and 18 volt and all that, but could be with an AC cable sounds more juicy. I don't know. It's possible. It's totally, pedal power is a thing, the right voltage in the circuit. And so, for those of you out there that have ever tried running 18 volt, as opposed to 9 on a pedal, you can do that. They always get a little louder and more bold, So I don't know. This is interesting. Interesting question. Do you have any thoughts on when you might retire from touring? I mean, I've often thought about it. I have no desire to do that right now, although I'm more selective about what I do now, but I'm touring more than ever. So it's just like you, as you get older, you're maybe willing to do less or wanting to do. Some people don't have the option, they're they've kind of built their career around touring, and it's like they maybe don't have enough to retire. That's the hard truth. And so they're like, well, I guess we're looking at another year of going out and doing it. So they do it and they go hard. A lot of guys I know, I'm like, how are they doing this at that age? And there's a few in particular I can think of where it's just like, but they go and they do it. And you know what? The reality is we got to take into account there's a part of that keeps you young. There's a part of going out, doing the stuff, doing the work where you don't slow down and you got to keep going and you go and you do. You know what I'm talking about? When people get old and then they retire and then all of a sudden they last a couple more years and then that's it. Yeah, that happens, right? So I think it's more about being smart about it. And if you don't enjoy it anymore, being honest and hopefully setting yourself up to the point where you've got enough income or investments or whatever to be able to make that choice and not have to be forced into working, but unfortunately there's majority of America is not that, the amount of people that, I mean, this is a question about retire, like any job you could apply it to. You see a lot of older people, you go in Costco, there's plenty of older people working, right? Why? Well, that's why, but also working at Costco, I mean, it gives them, once again, routine and purpose and all that stuff. I mean, I'm not this person that believes in necessarily like the utopia or whatever, the, idea is to end up, I don't know, playing bridge every day and, staring off at the, whatever, and watching my programs. It's like, that sounds like hell to me. So I love what I do. So it's like touring for me, as long as it's not the wrong kind, as long as I'm not like in a Sprinter van or like riding for 8 hours with my spine, as long as I'm having fun, and it's a good tour and I'm out with my friends and stuff, I love it. I just got to balance it with enough home time too. But touring is bliss if it's good and the gigs are good and the people are there and they're loving what you're doing, and that's why you see people do it until they just can't anymore. If there's a health condition or something where it's just like it prevents. There's a bass player, I won't mention his name, but I played with a number of years ago, and he's an older guy, amazing bass player, sweetheart of a guy, and he took a tour, pretty good tour that I was doing. And I found him really interesting. He'd played on lots of amazing records and stuff. And I realized at some point that he was on kidney dialysis, and he had a machine that he would have to use, and he needed all the, I guess it's solution water. I don't know like exactly, but he needed. There's a lot of stuff involved in needing to do that. He was so stoic about it that I didn't even realize till the end of the tour, like when I saw him like getting a delivery at the front desk of all the stuff that he needed that he'd had shipped to a certain hotel, and kind of what he was going through like the whole tour, like to be out on the road and going through that. Like I was like, wow. And I was sort of like, I wonder if I never asked, but I was like, I wonder if he's enjoying this or if it's out of necessity but he's a great guy and played great. And I was pretty knocked out by that, but it did make me think like, wow, you get older and life catches up and stuff. It's just so, anyway, any thoughts on it for myself? As it's more like, I don't ever really want to have to stop, I really don't, but I do want to get more selective and do just the things that I would like to do. And hopefully I'm able to do that, where it's like, I'm able to just like the gigs I enjoy, and with the kind of travel that you like as you get a little older, and you're like, if I never flew again, it would be too soon. You can get like that where you just don't want to, deal with it's just like you've done it enough. And so all those things, as long as all that can be relatively smooth and stuff, I don't really see stopping. I get too much out of it. It's like doing this show. It's not I don't want to stop. I really enjoy it. So. Yeah. What do you think of the Friedman Brit amp? Well, yeah, 50 watt Plex and JEL. Yeah, it's just a variation. Dave's got a lot of variations on circuits and things that he does, but it sounds like it's cool. I haven't tried it, so I'm not sure, exactly. I do like the JEL, what he's like. I've got the little 20 sitting. You can see the edge of it sitting there. It's a really, really good sounding amp. Great variation on the theme. Yeah. Yeah, so here's Ian saying, same here, live alone, no kids, minimal outside contact. Yeah, I get it. It can be, it can be really great in many ways, and then it can be lonely too and all that. So it's good to have clubs, groups, get out, talk to people, make friends, and then be able to do that selectively, Ben Tom says Dave Friedman's like a big teddy bear. He's such a sweetheart. Yeah, he's Detroit Dave. I mean, he's got sometimes he might seem to have like he's generally, he's really funny all the time, and most people I see, but maybe if you just meet him, he could seem to have kind of a stern exterior or something at times, but he'll give you the shirt off his back. He's one of those people, he's got great big heart, and he's a good person. So yeah, 100%. He's one of my best friends. So yeah. We appreciate you greatly. I appreciate you too. I do. Great answer. I also like seeing the same dudes in all these live streams that we all watch and engage in. Yeah, it's fun. It's like a little group of people from all over the country and all over the world, indeed. So, yeah, best club in the world. Yeah, it's a blast. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is true. Evidence that Pete enjoys it. I'm going to go 10 more minutes. He always stays on for another hour. Yeah, I can lose track of time. That's absolutely true. Is it going to be PT50? Yeah, I was just mentioning that I'm sitting here looking at it right now, actually, like, mock-ups of the actually pretty accurate computer mock-ups of both the front and back panel. It's looking awesome. And everything's in place, and spec'd, and the next step is just it really is just about down to procuring everything and building a prototype. So that's what's going to happen. There's a lot of work in Surland that goes on with both guitars and amps that's done in a computer ahead of building anything. Almost everything is done virtually, so that all the hard work is done virtually. All the everything. I'm talking down to the spec of where everything is on a circuit board. All the circuit boards, of course, are designed in a computer, but where every part is going to go, the exact dimensions of everything, so that then when you provide that to, what I mean, like to get chassis and things like that, and to get panels and things like that, and you need everything actually physically done. Now it's all spec'd, and that's the easy part, because you just basically saying this is exactly what I want, and then it's built, and then you've got it, and then you just assemble, essentially. But all the stuff is done, all and it's a lot of work, all that stuff I'm talking about, and especially when we're talking about not just hardware and putting together a tube amplifier, but when there's some software involved, and at logic, by logic, I mean switching things. Anytime you've got MIDI, switching things, programming things, which is part of this amplifier. I got to always restate that if you want to run this thing like a tube amp, like you do a PT100 or, the PT15, it's not going to be any more difficult to understand than that. And you can just use it like a standard tube amp if you want to. But if you want to be able to if you've got a switcher, and you want to be able to have some presets and store some settings and things like that, much like on like a Friedman IRX or something, right? How you can save switch settings and store things and stuff like that, but it's essentially a tube preamp. It's like that. There's not like digital control pots or something, any of that stuff, nothing like that. But certain switch settings and things like that, you want to store the state of all that and send it MIDI program change 10 and have it hit that. You can do that. So I think that's going to be really great and a big boon for people that are, pros that want to like have a variety of different sounds on stage that are super legit. It's going to be really killer. So, or in studio. Yeah. Okay. What else? What's this question here? I want to try my Tone X with the Brown Sound pack hooked up to my Marshall. Got to turn cab off in software, but I'm curious, would you run in the front? It wouldn't be the way I would recommend. What is your Marshall? If you're going to do it, run into input 2. If it's a plexi. Well, it depends on what the amp is. Sorry. So rude of me eating in front of me my peach yogurt, but I'm just going to have a couple bites before it goes bad. You guys don't care. It's all about what is your Marshall. Does it have an effect loop? If it's got an effect loop, run it right into the loop, because the Brown Sound pack it's a capture. It's almost like having a preamp. You're going to want to run it right into the power section. If it's a 4-hole Marshall, like a lead spec or super bass or something, run into the top right input and just bring up volume 2 and experiment with where the tone controls sound best. Start with them all on 5, maybe. I don't know what the flattest tone stack is in one of those. It might be mids on 10 and bass and treble on 0, something like that. But you can experiment, because you're going to kind of want to almost essentially use the amp like a power amp, because all the sound is baked into that Brown Sound pack. It's like the Tone X has got all the characteristics of, does that make sense? Like the power amp, the preamp, everything is all baked into that capture, that sound that's in that Brown Sound pack. So you want to kind of probably as transparently as possible just reamp that through a power amplifier in a cabinet. Yeah. Kim Thale and Jerry Cantrell are part of the fantasy camp in Seattle. Do you know these guys? Yes. I don't know Jerry. I don't know either of them super well. Kim's been on Sunday Live. He did you could check it out if you want to go back and search Pete Thorn, Kim Thale, Sunday Live. You'll find his episode. He did about 2.5 hours on here. It was awesome. Ages ago. Jerry, I've known through Dave Friedman over the years, and I've been to his birthday party numerous times and stuff like that up at his house and stuff. So we've met a number of times, but I don't know him very well. Just well, I mean, I've been, like I said, I've been to his house probably 4 or 5 times, and just to say hello, and he knows me as Dave's friend, I guess, or yeah. So maybe I'll know them better after this, after doing this adventure in Seattle. We'll see. Okay. I agree. Routine and stability is valuable for human beings. Yeah, I guess we all kind of need it or gravitate towards it a little bit. I mean, I like random and I also like routine. Part of what I love about touring is actually the routine, because there is kind of generally, we're going to sound check at 4 p.m. every day. There's a routine. There's a routine to every tour, but there's also random to every tour, because every day is different. You're in a new place every day. You're in a new venue. Today's office. Everybody always posts those silly quote, whatever on a photo of like, here's me in front of a crowd, some selfie. But yeah, here's me in front of a crowd. Look at how cool I am. No. Yeah, it's all so silly, but you know what I mean, or sound check picture or whatever. The routine of the tour and playing the set, playing the same songs, or maybe mixing up the songs a little bit, but that thing, and setting up your gear and all that. There's a routine to it, but you're also in a different location every day. That's really fun for me. It's the yin and the yang. Why did I say it like that? I don't know. Oh, this is cool. Very nice of you. I have a gym in South Florida. If you ever need training, diet help, no charge, let me know. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm kind of curious on what to do. I was thinking of doing like I don't know. There's all these gyms, right? There's that you can go to. I could go to Planet Fitness or whatever and just do my own thing, or I could go to get a personal trainer at one of those spots, or you can go to Base Camp Fitness, or you can go to F45, or like all this. So I need to do a little bit of research. It's all daunting and kind of keeps me, it's that thing where it's scaling the mountain of just figuring out what you're going to do, and then you make a decision to get into it, and hopefully I develop a routine. But like I'm also not like 22 years old or whatever, and I need to be careful. I've got a little it's getting better over time, but I've got a little rotator cuff thing that has improved markedly. It's been going on for over a year, but it's not nearly as bad as it was on this arm. Like I don't know, I can feel it a little bit right now, but I don't notice it nearly as much. Used to be where I'd extend and do certain things with my arm and be like, oh. And yeah, stupid me. I never really did anything about it, but it seems to have resolved on its own over time, like pretty nicely. I just have to be careful not to blow anything out or do anything stupid, So when it comes to exercise. Yeah. This is cool. I just hit 200 Duolingo consecutive days in Spanish. I kind of want to do Spanish next. Like Justin from Sir, he's my buddy there, does artist relations and other things. He mentioned the other day, he's like, yeah, I want to do Spanish on Duolingo because I can actually use it in my day-to-day life. And that's the way I feel. I live in Southern California. I could actually like practice all the time. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities. And it is dumb. Like I should have done it ages ago. Should be learning Spanish, it's something where I'll be able to utilize it all the time. So he's right. Japanese is a little more, I'm just fascinated by Japan and going there. I love going there and working there and stuff. And it seemed like a formidable challenge. So I tackled Japanese, but yeah. Okay. Jake says, we appreciate you. Appreciate you too, man. Really do. All you guys. 100%. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. What? There was a local comedy show in Seattle called Almost Live that did a joke skit on Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp that had Thale, McCready, and Cantrell in it. So funny, but so ironic. Well, I think Kim might have mentioned even on my show that he did, maybe it was on my show or maybe it was somewhere else, that he initially was probably kind of like, what is this? Like this whole, it's kind of like, because it could seem kind of anti-Seattle as such a like, like, it wasn't about music lessons or like going to a school to learn how to rock or anything. It was, very organic and kind of punk. It's kind of not very punk rock, I guess, like Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. But then he went and did it and he loved it. It's like, I could see that, like how both things can be true, where it's like, yeah, like when I first got to MI, to GIT, there was this thing like this was pre-grunge. And in LA, there was even this thing where it was like, there was like a Rock City News or the LA Weekly, and there'd be ads for musicians or the whatever Music Connection ads for, bands looking for a guitar player. And they would all say something similar, which was a lot of them were like, no losers, like, has to have long hair. Like this was the time, and it was like, no, flock of seagulls looking, like stuff like that. And it'd be like, and no MI nerds, like, like going to music school was bad. We want somebody that understands rock and roll and like wants to take it to the top. We're going to go all the way. Like every ad looked like that. And there was a considerable number of them that would say, we don't want anybody from MI, that's like going to music school, which is where, like some of the biggest bands on the strip were like, Racer X and like obviously Paul Gilbert, MI. It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, but they it was more like they wanted somebody like Mick Mars in the band that seemed like street and kind of hard, Slash or, like not anybody that went to music school. Yeah. But it was funny because when I was at MI, some of the things that I sort of got supercharged and let in on were nothing to do with curriculum or music school. It was like I learned some really good real world stuff at MI from teachers like Nick Nolan, who I brought up before, and some other cats, Tim Bogert. I mean, I remember playing with Tim Bogert. He's a legend, like Vanilla Fudge, Beck Bogert and Appleseed. He was a musical legend. There I am. I'm 19 on stage playing with him, and he was the first one that ever threw changes at me because I was playing some song I didn't know, and he's like, "You'll be fine, just watch me." And he's like, 2 chord, 3 chord, 1, like this, and I'm like, and I'm like, "Holy shit, I'm doing it!" Like I'm like, I know, like I can do this, and he's just calling the changes to me on stage in a band playing on stage, real world situation. Where was I going to go get that? Like not the outside of MI, so it was amazing. He's also the one that like in a class, like I'll never forget this. I went to a open counseling with him, and he was talking about singing, and he's like, "Okay, we're going to work on some background singing today, because background singing is really important. Whether or not you consider yourself a singer, if you can say you can sing a little, some backgrounds, it'll help you get gigs and all that," which is 100% true. So he's like, "Okay, I want you to show me kind of what you have, like, so like he's like, first thing we're gonna do is I want you to call your mom across the parking lot." I was like, "What?" He's like, "You're in a parking lot at a shopping center. Your mom's way on the other side of the parking lot. So how do you call her? How do you get her attention?" Right. And I go like, I don't like, and there's other kids in there, like, I'm like, "Oh, I don't know, like, Mom." Right. And he's like, "What? Like, your mom's across the parking lot." And I go like, "Mom." And he goes like, "That's not how you do it, Mom." Right. And he's like, "That's how you sing." And I was like, "Oh," like with some nuts, like, you know what I mean? And I never forget. I remember it right to this day. What did I learn from Tim Bogert? Calling changes on stage, yelling, like with, and you don't even think about it. You do it like it's a natural thing. I got to do this. I got to project. And if he was trying to equate like singing, it's the same thing. Like, just go there. Like, you need to, don't be shy, don't be so shy. Don't be so, and that, yeah. So that was music school for me. So anyway, coming back around to the Kim Thale, McCready, Cantrell, like Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and like the kind of the stigma and like whatever. I'm been down this road enough to know that a bunch of people getting together to have fun and play music, and then the kind of knowledge that these guys don't even probably think that they have, that they can actually turn people on to in a setting like this, that is that those people will never forget, the little things that they'll never forget, the kind of knowledge that, sure, it's a class and you paid for it and everything, but people are going to take away memories and probably little tips and tricks and things from pros like that are, you can't put a price on, and so I think that's what Kim experienced when he went and did it, probably, was that it was really rewarding on a human level, probably, which is bigger than, your probably preconceived notions of what's cool or not cool, or the right way to do things, or what's punk rock and what isn't, and all that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, they're pretty cool. Anyways, Paul Papandrea, thanks for the super chat. Happy Sunday. Still wrestling with setting the new rig up, mono, stereo, or even wet, dry, wet. This is for live playing. Anybody successfully using a single stereo cab of any kind that's worth the effort? I think, I've done it with a single cab and running stereo power amp into two sides of a Marshall cab. It's not perfect, but it's still really cool. And you basically get, if you mic both sides and you're on in-ears, you can hear it in there. It's yeah, because the cabinet is, it's speakers, sure, you're like one side, the other side, they're right there in the same cabinet, and there's some interplay and stuff like that. So, but whatever, it's just a guitar sound. Do you get the imaging and stuff? Not so much, but like I say, in a PA, you'll still hear like a stereo delay or whatever. That's still going to be reflected, even though there'll be some bleed, but it's all good. It's rock and roll. So try it in all ways and see what you think. It really depends. You're saying for live playing, if you're on in-ears, try something like a stereo 212 or stereo, a Marshall cab stereo 412. Mic each side with a 57 and get it in your in-ears and give it a listen. It's the only way to know. You have to try it. You just have to experiment and know what works for you. You might decide that mono's good enough. I'm not really, whatever. Or maybe you play on stage and you're not really going to hear the imaging because it's far enough behind you that it just sounds kind of the same in stereo mono, and you're like, who cares? But another thing to consider too is if you're in a band, live playing, right? So if you're in a big band and there's another guitar player and maybe a keyboard player, the stereo thing, I'm sort of the mind lately. I mean, in classic rock show, I'm still going to do it, but there is a part of me that's like, when you're in a band and you got two guitarists and keyboards, just go mono. There's a big part of me that thinks it's like, because it allows you to have your place in a blend of a bunch of people. The keyboard player is going to be stereo. They always are. So it's like, they're going to have a Nord or something from piano sounds and organ sounds. It's going to be big and wide, and it's going to get panned and all that. So that gives you this bed. And then kind of having two guitars, one in the left and one in the right for a live thing is pretty cool. Because what do you do? A lot of times one guy's mono and the other guy's stereo. Well, where do you go then? I'm always like, I don't know. Put me like, skew me so that I'm sort of stereo, but leave room for the other guy to, I don't know. It's like, it's always this thing that at this point it's like, does this even make sense? But for my in-ears, I love the stereo. It's like when I was playing with Joe and Steve. When I was playing with Joe and Steve, and all three of us were on stage, I liked it having Joe in my right ear primarily, Steve up the middle, and myself in the left ear, because then I had a stereo spread of the perspective of the way that I was standing with the guys on stage, and I had more clarity then. But when it was just Steve and me, for example, Steve had a stereo rig and I had a stereo rig, and his rig sounded really exceptional to me in stereo and the delays and everything. I would get him at the same level as me. So now I've got stereo Steve Vai in my ears, and I'm also stereo. And when we would play, because of the nature of his music and the things we were playing, many times we would be locking up on things, and it just was like heaven, like hearing him in the in-ears and hearing myself at the same time. And when I loved it, like him, because he's Steve Vai, so it's normally I would have people lower, but because it's him, I'm like, no, just put him at the same level as me. Like I want to hear him clear as a bell. And then when he's playing and I'm playing, I'll just be like, this is like, it sounds like you're jamming along to a record, and it's all perfect and everything. Just, it's like, this is lovely. Two stereo rigs, the effects, it just blended beautifully, like with the two, the in my ears. With Joe, he was mono, and I would tend to get him, I would have myself wide stereo and him right up the middle. It's kind of similar, but he would be in mono. And I'd, because then it's like we'd be playing like Satch Boogie or something, and I'm doing the rhythm, and he's and it's like mono right up the middle, and I'm the wide rhythm bed behind him, and my sound sounded really wide in my ears because of that. So it made sense, stereo, even with three guitar players in that band. So I guess it's band dependent, gig dependent, depending on what you're trying to do. It's all about it. I guess at the end of the day, for your $20 super chat, my suggestion is hook it up and try it in every different way. Try and jam with the band with it in different configurations, if they'd be so kind as to, allow you to do that, so you can work on your sound and then figure out what works best. And also get the feedback from, front of house and stuff. See if you can listen to a mix. See if what it's sounding like. Wet, dry, wet. It's cool. It's a lot, 3 microphones and whatever. It's a lot. But how do you feel about copies being made of your signature? It's like flattery, I guess. I mean, it's not a Sir, so if it's a Harley Benton or whatever, they've made guitars that look a lot like mine. Whatever. It's, my guitar is a fairly generic, in that it's a Strat shape, right? So it's like, this is the whole argument of the Fender lawsuit. It's like, I can't complain about somebody else making something if that would be lending credence to Fender's whole thing. So there's no, yeah, it's flattery. But, true people that are, guitar players that are really into quality are going to know that it's not a Sir, it's a Harley Benton. Still could be really good guitar or whatever, but if you really want, all the stuff, Thornbuckers and the bridge that's on my guitar, and you want it made by these guys in Southern California and all that stuff that comes with it and the way they feel and everything and perform, it's not just about a look. So, yeah, far from it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I should bring this up. My amp is still here. I had a few people that were interested. Nobody's bit yet completely, but the Germino with the Jose mods still available, 3K. So Pete Thorn at ymail.com. If you're interested, let me know. Still up. Yeah, there's a few people that were just kind of trying to figure it out, but it's whether or not they were going to do it, and yeah, nobody's made a decision yet. So still there. Musicraft has a 7.8 dinky size body with option for 21, 22, or 24. There you go. There you go. I'm moving down through the chat. I'm gonna go soon, you guys. It's 2:10. I got to split. So I've been going about 2 hours now. So I gotta go. But just a few more because I'm having fun, like we talked about earlier. Iron Maiden are still touring in their 60s and 70s. Yeah, because it's like that's their family, you know. It's like, what are you gonna do? Go home and not see your family? You know, I mean, as long as they all still like one another. There's probably varying degrees of that in that band, but you know, what a party. Like, you get to be an Iron Maiden. Why would you want to stop that? That's like living. Unless you're just too, if you want to stop, that means you don't enjoy it anymore, you know. Or one of two things: you either don't enjoy it, or you just can't because of illness and obligations and things like that. Other things have gotten in the way, and either of those would be valid reasons to stop. Obviously, you don't have the passion for it anymore, or you just can't because of unforeseen circumstances, you know. But otherwise, this is what we do, you know. So it's a little like Paul McCartney talking to Geddy Lee. You know, they've talked about in some of the Rush interviews where Paul's like, "Go play, like we're musicians. This is what we do." And look at Paul; he's like 83 on tour, you know, and he's talking to Geddy Lee, going, "You guys need to go on the road, like get back together, like make music, whatever. You're in a band together, like you're best friends, like go play." And now you see them up there, and Geddy's jumping up and down, and Alex is laughing, and they're like having the time of their lives. It's like, you know, I think it was the right amount of time, it seems like, to go away, but maybe they should have even done it sooner, you know. It seems just like if you can do it right, which is like Alex talks a lot about, you know, the touring and how it can be not fun and the you know, the mundane. Like, yeah, he spelled it out pretty well in an interview I saw recently where he talks about sitting on the edge of the bed with the remote and stepping through the channels, and you can't really go out because he's Alex, so maybe he doesn't want to be recognized or whatever the reasons were, but he's like, a hotel room can become a little like a prison, right? I think that's true, especially for like those level of rock star that like don't feel like they can leave the room, and that kind of thing sometimes could be very difficult. But if you can make it work somehow, you know, like I love seeing Mick Jagger on the road. If you follow him on Instagram, he'll often go out to, like, when the Stones are touring, you know, he'll go out to be in North Carolina, and you'll see some picture of him like at a bar, and he's got on a baseball hat pulled down, and he's having a beer, and he's just like standing in a, you know, there's picnic tables. It's like some kind of like rustic bar, like just whatever in a neighborhood, and he, you know, there's a jukebox or whatever, and he's just drinking a beer, and he's like had a great time on the day off, and like, you know, whatever, and he's just out chilling. He seems to really enjoy that kind of incognito, if you can be, you know. In Japan, it's real easy because masks are really common, right? So it's like all you got to do is put on a face mask, you know, and like 50% of the population is wearing masks at any point anyway. So it's like, you know, you put on a baseball hat and a face mask, nobody can see who the hell. So if you're like my boss in Japan, you do that on the way to dinner, and you're totally incognito. It's pretty cool. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. After years with no problem, began having issues with my ears. Me too. Got some custom fit plugs, but I hope you're all taking care of your ears. Snuck up on me. Drummers are still freaking loud. Yeah. It seems to get us all eventually, some people sooner than others. My ears are definitely more sensitive now than they used to be, and I try and be more careful. So luckily I've seemed to have done pretty good up to this point, and for that I'm thankful. So yeah, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Curious why they made the JEL 50. I know if someone's looking for less headroom because the difference in volume from 100 to a 50 is only 3 dB. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they make a 20, a 50, and 100. So some people want amps at different. It's a little lighter. They sound a little sweeter, and some people sometimes don't want as much headroom, you know. Sometimes it's the 50 to 100 thing is more about a feel than it is about a volume reduction. You know, the 50-watt power section is a thing, you know, over 100. It's got a different feel, especially when we're talking about Marshall-style power sections. It's a thing. Yeah. I mean, it's a little like a, you know, even a twin versus like a bassman or something. You know, they were both, you know, if you've got, or showman versus a bassman, like showman, oh my God, it's loud and clean. And then a bassman, oh, you can kind of turn it up and get some power tube drive. Really at that volume, they're probably, yeah, sure, 3 dB, which can sound like a lot at a loud volume, but they're not really that different in volume, are they? But the headroom is different. And on something like a bassman where it starts clipping earlier, and you know, like that little less headroom and a little squishier feel thing, even though it's about at the same volume, one is a little penetrating and really loud, can be what you want, or for some other people, they might prefer the squishier breaking up a bit at about the same volume of a bassman. So I think that's the thing between also a Marshall 50 and 100 is that slight difference in feel and everything is a thing. A couple super chats there. Thank you guys. I'm gonna grab those and then wow, I'm really far back in the chat. Sorry guys, but that tends to happen. Missed most of this because of practice. Well, you did the right thing. Practice is good. You know, gotta stay on the game. I should be practicing too. Music craft neck feels as good as my Shure neck. Yeah, it's good stuff. Call Warren. Don't forget. I will. I got to give him a call back. I'll do that right after I get off of here. There's Peter with the, hey man, thanks for the super chat. Killer Sunday Show, hit the button. Thanks, brother. And videos this week. So the video this week that's coming first will be for this guy, the Los Lunas. Terrific sounding Vemaram distortion pedal. And then there'll be one for an amp that I can't tell you about that'll be out later in the week. So 2 videos coming this week. Got lots of video work this week to do. Yeah. Nico had to retire from Maiden, but the rest are still doing. That's true. And he's family, and I'm sure, you know, they're all good and everything. But yeah, he had to step back. The drummer is always, as you get older, that's the tough role. It's so physical. So yeah. Another super chat there. Thank you again, Peter, for the super chat. You're the best. Appreciate it. You'll see those 2 videos this week. Here's one more super chat. I have a PV6505 112. What would be a good speaker replacement? Schultz Sugar Cone makes me think it might be a good option. It's real balanced and lovely sounding. You know, it's expensive sounding. It really knocked me out, that speaker. Great sound. It's not a greenback. You know, I would probably recommend a couple different speakers. A 6505, so it's a 5150. I mean, this is a hard rock amp. Sugar Cone, if you want the balanced, smooth, everything in focus thing. If you want a bit more of the Celestian, like traditional character, I would probably go, you know, the H75 creamback. H75 creamback is a really good all-rounder. It's got a bit of a mid scoop to it, big bottom end, nice treble. It's good clean, it's good dirty, but it's a good overall, like kind of, you know, translates to, I would say that, you know, one's a bit more traditional Celestian flavor, and then the Sugar Cone is like this thing that I don't know how to describe it. It just sounds really good and balanced. You can hear it in my video against a V30. Go check out the Sugar Cone if you're interested. Very, very, very nice speaker. Been thinking about it ever since I did that video, and I kind of want one. Like, I can't decide, like, would I like a 412 with the Sugar Cones, or would I like 2 212s? And maybe I use it on tour with, like, you know, the 212s. Yeah, not sure. Something like that. But 2 412s? Nah, too much. But maybe 212s. We'll see. All right, guys, I'm going to split. This was great. I really appreciate you all. And have an awesome week. And next week is, yeah, I'll be here next week. Nothing changed. 23rd. Let's see. What's the, just got to look at my calendar really quick here. Next week's the 30th. nothing special of note. The following week, I will have I got a little trip because I got a gig on the 7th. So we'll have to see about the following Sunday after next week. I may have to reschedule and do Sunday Live on a different, it's not sure I'm taking a look here. Yeah, it's right over when Sunday Live is. So it's possible maybe later in the day I could do an evening one or something like that. Or I change it till the following day or something like that. But yeah, but next week I'll be all good on the 30th. And then I'll remind you guys that the following week I'll have to change the time to something else. So I've got a little one-off. I'm mostly around in the fall, but I have occasional one-offs little hits that I'm going out to do gigs here and there and stuff like that. Just kind of nice, something to look forward to, different things, and lots of home time to look forward to. All right, everybody. Thanks for your super chats. Appreciate you guys so much. And thanks for being here. Have a terrific week. See ya.